Right now, somewhere in America, a 28-year-old is scrolling through Instagram watching someone their age pull up to a mansion in a Ferrari. And they're thinking one thing: I'm so far behind. But what if I told you that feeling is completely manufactured? What if the real numbers, the ones tracked by the actual Federal Reserve, tell a completely different story about when Americans build wealth? Today, we're cracking open the exact ages when most people in this country hit $100,000, $500,000, and $1 million in net worth. And more importantly, we're going to show you what separates the people who hit those numbers early from the people who never hit them at all. Stay with me, because the data is going to surprise you and genuinely relieve you at the same time. Let's start with the foundation. The Federal Reserve regularly surveys American households and collects data on their financial lives. This isn't opinion. This isn't a financial influencer guessing. This is cold, hard data on millions of real households. And what does that data say? The median net worth for Americans under the age of 35 is approximately $39,000. That's the midpoint. Half of young adults in this country have less than that. So if you are in your 20s or early 30s and you feel like you're treading water, you are not broken. You are actually pretty normal. The game is harder than anyone on social media will ever admit to you. Now let's talk about that first major milestone: $100,000. Charlie Munger, Warren Buffett's legendary partner, famously called the first 100,000 the hardest. And he was absolutely right. But maybe not for the reason you think. It's not just psychologically hard, it's mathematically hard. When your portfolio sits at $20,000 and earns 8% in a year, you make $1,600. That's barely noticeable. It doesn't feel like your money is working for you because it barely is. You are still the engine. Every dollar of progress requires your time, your discipline, and your sacrifice. So when do most Americans actually cross that $100,000 threshold? Based on Federal Reserve data, the median net worth for Americans aged 35 to 44 is roughly $135,000. That tells us the typical person is crossing that six-figure mark somewhere in their mid to late 30s. Meanwhile, the under 35 crowd sits at that $39,000 median we already mentioned. This means for a massive chunk of the population, the entire decade of their 20s and the early part of their 30s is consumed by student debt, car loans, rent payments, and entry-level salaries. It is a math problem, not a character flaw. But here is where everything shifts. Once you clear $100,000, compound interest stops being a concept you read about and starts being something you actually feel. An 8% return on a $100,000 portfolio generates $8,000 in a single year without you doing a single extra thing. On $50,000, that same return gives you $4,000. The gap widens fast. Your money begins to fight alongside you instead of you fighting alone. That momentum is why the journey from $100,000 to $500,000 is almost always faster than the crawl from 0 to $100,000, even though the dollar distance is 4 times larger. So when does the average American reach $500,000? Here is where it gets interesting. Federal Reserve data combined with broader financial research shows that only about 10.5% of Americans between 18 and 39 have a net worth of $500,000 or more. For most people, the $500,000 milestone doesn't arrive until their mid to late 40s, or even early 50s. The average net worth in the 40s age bracket looks impressive at around $770,000, but averages are skewed by the wealthiest households. The median, which represents the typical American, is far lower, somewhere between $76,000 and $247,000, depending on which part of your 40s you're in. So reaching $500,000 by 40 puts you well ahead of nearly 9 in 10 of your peers. It happens, but it requires intentional, accelerated action. Here's the insight that genuinely changes how people think about this. Once you hit $500,000, you are not just halfway to $1 million in dollars. You are roughly 75% of the way there in time. Because compounding accelerates, moving from $500,000 to $1 million with consistent investing can take as few as 5 to 7 years. Compare that to the 15 to 20 years many people spend building the first $500,000. The back half of the journey is dramatically faster. That is the reward for surviving the grind. And now the big one. $1 million. The Federal Reserve data says the average age of a millionaire in America is 61 years old. Roughly 80% of millionaires are over 50. Only about 18% of American households ever achieve a net worth of $1 million or more. That means approximately 4 out of every 5 American families will never reach this milestone in their lifetime. Let that sink in for a moment. But here is what nobody tells you about the people who do get there. They don't get there through one dramatic event. No lottery win, no viral business overnight, no lucky stock pick. They get there by doing boring, consistent, unsexy things for decades, maxing out their retirement accounts every single year, investing in index funds and leaving them alone, driving the same car for 10 years, avoiding lifestyle creep every time their salary went up, understanding the critical difference between looking wealthy and actually being wealthy. Think about this contrast. A household earning $200,000 a year, but spending $195,000 on luxury cars, an oversized mortgage, and designer everything has almost zero real wealth. Meanwhile, a family earning $90,000 and consistently investing $20,000 per year is quietly, invisibly building a fortune. Net worth is not about your income. It is about the gap between what you earn and what you keep. That gap, invested consistently over time, is where millionaires actually come from. Here's something concrete and actionable. The 2026 contribution limit for a 401k is $24,500 if you're under 50. If you're 50 or older, you can add another $8,000. And if you're between 60 and 63, a newer Super Catch-up provision allows an additional $11,250 in contributions. These limits are not small. Over 2 to 3 decades, consistently maxing out your retirement contributions combined with employer matching and market returns can push you past $1 million almost on autopilot. The vehicle exists. Most people just never fully use it. Now, if you're watching this and you want to go beyond the basics, if you want real guidance on accelerating your path to these milestones with a structured approach and community accountability, check out the Wealth Accelerator Academy. It is a group coaching program and course specifically built to help people compress the timeline to financial freedom. Whether you're chasing your first 100,000 or trying to close the gap to 1 million, the link is in the description below. People who have a plan and a support system hit these milestones faster. That's not a sales pitch. That's just how wealth building works. Let's bring this home with some straight talk about where you might be right now. If you are in your 20s and you feel behind, stop. You are not behind. You are actually on a normal trajectory. But normal gets you to 1 million at 61. If you want to beat that number, you need to start investing today, not next month, not when you feel ready. Compound interest requires time above everything else, and every year you delay costs you exponentially more than the year before it. If you are in your 30s or 40s and just now waking up to this, take a breath. You still have time, but average effort will give you average results. You need intensity right now. Audit your spending ruthlessly. Eliminate waste. Automate your investments so you never have to rely on willpower. Stop refreshing your portfolio every day and let time do its work. The question was never whether you could reach these milestones. Based on everything the data shows, the math absolutely works in your favor if you work it. The only real question is whether you are willing to commit to the boring, consistent habits today that create the extraordinary financial life waiting on the other side. If you are serious about accelerating your journey and want a proven system with coaching to get you there faster, the Wealth Accelerator Academy is waiting for you right now. The link is in the description, and the best time to start is always today. And if this video genuinely showed you where you stand compared to the real data, not the social media highlight reel, but actual Federal Reserve numbers, then hit that subscribe button right now. We put out videos like this regularly, turning complex financial data into clear, actionable roadmaps, and you deserve to have that information in your corner every single week. Don't build wealth in the dark when the light is one click away. Now go out there, stack your numbers, and let's outpace the average together. Your future self is already thanking you.